Yeah, I actually think that we've gotten past peak pessimism that we all were looking for, right? Everybody's trying to find the bottom. Where do we finally start to turn the corner? I think we've actually gotten past that. I think, and I know you're probably surprised to hear me say this, Scott. I think we're finally getting to a place where investors are saying enough is enough. We saw those two negative quarters that did equal a recession, whether the Gang of Eight decides that they want to call it that this year, or they'll look back next year and finally say, there it was. I think that we've gotten there already, and what that means is November is going to be choppy dealing with the midterm election, but following that, I think we start to continue to chug along. I think that we do actually start to see us in the year with a little bit better sentiment, and we start to move more positively going into Q1 of 2023.
Interesting. Jessica, have we turned a corner like Malcolm suggests that we might have?
Well, I think there's a lot of open macro headwinds that need to be resolved, and they're certainly not going to be resolved at the same time. So think about the earnings season where we're at right now within the cycle. There is so much pressure on profit margins. And so it seems like demand is absolutely cooling off, but prices are peaking, yet they remain sticky. And so I'm wondering how that's going to translate into the next earnings cycle. And I expect to see the next earnings cycle actually come down, which I think would drag the overall market down. So I do think there's room to actually go lower, just in the short term at a stalling place, but in the longer term, it makes sense.
You know, Malcolm, I looked at the notes, and you're putting your money where your mouth is. I suppose if you suggest enough is enough, you thought enough was enough as it related to Amazon and the big decline, you bought it.
Yes, Scott, I was on a few weeks back, and I told you that I thought we were gearing up to get a second chance at buying some stocks that we were going to wish we had bought at the end of this decade. In 2020, the pandemic brought us an opportunity. A lot of us, myself included, didn't buy certain names that we didn't think were going to be positively impacted. We turned around and looked and said, man, there it was. There was my shot. And Q3 earnings brought us an opportunity to buy a company like Amazon sub $100, which made absolutely no sense to me. I think it's completely overblown that it sold off 10% following its earnings. The last time Amazon traded sub $100 on a split adjusted basis was back in 2019, pre-pandemic. And since then, they've drastically increased their Prime subscribers, bolstered the delivery network, and added, thousands of drivers and added several fulfillment centers in key parts of the country. So if you just think about how much stronger Amazon has gotten since the pandemic, save for that demand pull forward and how much they got beat up over it for overbuilding in response to the pandemic, it just looks to me a company that's responsible for 40% of the overall e-commerce market has a lot of room to go from here. And buying it below $100, getting a second bite at the apple, was just too good to resist to me.
All right, Adam, what do you make of that? He's not throwing away his shot, he said.
No, I think Malcolm had a really good call. We were on together a few weeks ago when he said that. And it kind of catalyzed me actually to do that work. We were talking about comparing fall of 19 and the forecast of 23. Amazon didn't make our list only because we overlaid a governor of price to forward earnings. And obviously that one is one that could probably earn more if it wants to. But I think it does embody the spirit of our research as well, which is there are businesses that are just, Amazon's a good example. Malcolm, what are they going to have? Twice the revenue in 2023, 600 billion or so versus 2019. So there are definitely businesses that are in way better shape that the market isn't giving any credit for. And if this erode, non-implode macro backdrop unfolds, I think you'll find these businesses are worth a lot more 6-12 months from now.
I'd like to know.
We're in alignment, yeah.
I'd like to know what Jessica thinks as it relates to big tech, mega caps. Are we in the mid stage of an implosion, to use those words, or is this simply just a near-term erosion? You had to get these things had just gone too far. They're overvalued, a little too expensive. They need to just get more attractive, like Malcolm thought Amazon got at $100.
Sure. And I love that narrative that we buy on these declines. And it's a great way just to add to your longer term portfolio at lower valuations, even if you don't call the bottom. That's very logical and a great perspective. I do think those macro headwinds, though, could translate. And that's what I'm concerned with those type of big tech and mega cap. Is the dollar actually peaked? How restrictive is Powell going to tell us he's going to be on Wednesday? And I think he's going to reiterate that he is restrictive nonetheless. But it still doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy those type of securities. I think there's lots of opportunities. There's ways to hide in technology, like we've discussed before, with automation and some of the issues that face the labor market. So I think there's absolutely opportunities that are all over this market.